So this is my opinion piece on RuneScape right now and how I feel personally. I've been working on a med level account the last few months, so granted I haven't been able to participate in some of the high level stuff, but now as I start to work on this med level account, I think I have a better vision of RuneScape as a whole and the game right now because I've been recently playing a lot of my main account, and before that I had an Iron Man. So I've experienced a lot of the game. I've played the game for a while, and recently I think that there's just been a ton of updates, and I think that it's been kind of a track that Jagex and the RuneScape team has been going down for a while. So in this video, I'm going to talk about my opinions on it and address some groups in particular. And maybe if you guys don't have opinions for yourself, you can get a broader view of the RuneScape scene right now. So let's get into it. So we'll start with who we would think would be the most to blame for this, and that is the Jagex team. Now I say to blame, we have to understand a little bit of the past to see how we got here now. So old school RuneScape was a game that was initially made with no updates planned. It was going to be something that was just an old version of the server. People played it, and over time, as they got to more of the med and high level grind, they realized there's not a lot of content, and thus they started to stop playing. I mean, and that makes sense. If you don't have any content and you kind of really are demanding some content, you just quit until you get that. Now, eventually, Jagex dedicated more and more resources towards old school RuneScape, and the team built, and so did the community as they started to introduce more updates. It gave the people that were yearning for some content something to do, and I think that that's important. People really wanted it back then, like you needed to keep the game afloat with content. At this point, I really don't think we're there anymore. I think that there has been so much coming out into the game lately. I'll be speaking a little bit more from a high level sense of view. Like I feel as if I'm a little overloaded. I only did 150 raids 1, but in the perspective of grinding a boss, I barely did any raids 1. And in that time, raids 2 came out like a year and a half later, just very, very soon afterwards. And I really just started to do raids 2 more than I've ever done 1 because I wasn't able to get to 1 in the time that 2 came out. And even with raids 2, it feels like it almost was just kind of thrown out there and wasn't in demand. I think that that's kind of the missing link here, is that there seems to be less of a demand for these updates and more of these updates being offered to us, and I don't think that that demand is still there. Now, I understand why the content continues to come though, because if Jagex builds a team that is meant to provide updates, what are those people going to think to do when they come into work? They're like, all right, well, we're going to work on updates. We're going to do what we've been doing. And I think that that's the wrong way to go about it. Even if you come into the job wanting to work on updates, I can see it from their point of view. You want to work on something that's yours. If I was a dev, I wouldn't want to come in and work on fixing trouble brewing, which is just a broken mini game. Instead, I just want to create something new that would be fun. But instead, I think that's really the line you kind of draw with old school RuneScape. You're trying to provide updates while also keeping some of the old feel in the game. And if you just provide updates and don't keep the old feel in the game by trying to update old stuff, you kind of overrun the updates. And I think that's where we're starting to head. And if we don't stop it soon, it could become even worse. Now, obviously, they could start to relax on that side of it, but I don't know if that's necessarily a thing that will happen. Ultimately, I understand the update cycle for Jagex. They just want to keep providing the game with content, but I feel like it's a little bloated as is, and we should focus a bit more on what's broken, but not necessarily everything that's broken. And I think that's a key factor. Not everything that has no use has to have a use, but there are definitely things right now, like PKing as a heavy example, that just need looked at in a massive way, and it kind of just gets brushed off for new content, and I think that is poor. So I think that's a decent overview in regards to Jagex. I mean, I think that they really just want to provide content because, that's what you want to do when you create a game. You want to provide fun stuff to do, but I don't think that's what old school RuneScape needs right now. However, at times we do need it, so I understand. The next group that I think can take partial blame, but it also does involve Jagex, is clients. I think that clients are not necessarily figured out and have never been since introduced. Jagex has always had the problem that they haven't updated their client, in my opinion, to anywhere near efficient. I think that there are a lot of things that this game desperately needs, and they're regular version of the client that they have yet to provide. So for that reason, I fully understand the use of having RuneLite and OS Buddy. However, I don't like the outsourcing of it. I don't think that they need to necessarily have it outsourced to other clients that then do it and then kind of don't have necessarily limits to it. I mean, the stuff added to the clients aren't pulled in the game, and if they add something to a client that's useful, a lot of people see that and then they'll want it in the game. And that necessarily isn't a good thing. You may think it is, but there were JAD helpers, there were Zora helpers, a lot of pretty much just playing the game for you type of deals that I don't think should be allowed in the game. I think that you should have to learn those. For the people that are learning it, they want it, because they're like, please just help me, but I don't think it's in the spirit of the game. And I think that if these clients are left to kind of update at their own will, even though Jagex can ban them at any point, they really do kind of run a weird line that I'm not too sure I enjoy. So if I had to give my advice, while I don't know how it all works, just please get rid of clients and focus maybe a few people on staff to just providing the necessary updates to the RS client. But at the same time, I don't know Jagex's relationship with these companies. I don't know what they can do, although it has seemed like they could come down with a pretty firm fist in the past. So ultimately, I just don't think that clients are necessary for this. I think that they just have to update the main game a little bit to accommodate. So while I do think clients and Jagex do hold some responsibility, in addition to that, we, the people, through polling and being able to vote, also have a say in what goes on. So time to dissect us. Now, the high-level community, as I am a part of, so I like to be a little introspective here. I think that every update doesn't have to be critiqued to death. I think that we do that a lot. We whip out the spreadsheet and we see exactly where the metas land and critique it to just an annoying level, and I understand why that can ruin the fun for a lot of the med-level players that are like, why do you have to kill everything? Like Konar, I know there was a lot of stuff there, but I do understand that there's good sentiment behind it, but at the same time, when you critique every update with so much degree of passion, it kind of starts to lose its luster, and that's the thing. Just don't complain about every update. Pick and choose your spots. I know that a lot of people just would rather the game kind of sit and do nothing, and while this video is kind of promoting the idea of not updating as much, I still think updates are necessary, just not to this degree. Really, I just think the high-level community isn't good at picking and choosing the spots that they need to, and that's kind of why we fail as a voice a little bit, because we're too spread out on a ton of different issues. Now this one goes out to the PvP community. While I may hate you and had a recent tirade in a video where I still love you, I understand. I used to be a PKer myself like a long time ago, 6 or 7 years, but Jagex has really not done a lot for the PvP scene. I've already mentioned it once this video, but they are almost left out to rot in all regards. Now, as a PvPer, I think you have to understand that the game is hard to balance as is with PVMing metas, and then to balance that into PKing metas, that's also very hard, so I think that's where Jagex struggles a little bit, but that's about the only thing I can say to try to cool the PvPers down. I think they are in a really tough spot, and every time, man, I feel for them so bad. I anxiously want to get into PvP, but I am scared of it at the same time. Then we'll skip over the med-level players and go straight to the noobs, and by noobs, I know this is a relative term. What do I classify as a noob? Here we go. So if you've created your account in the last year, and you're not above level 65, we'll say, I mean, it's a pretty low bar. If you feel like that's high, I understand, the game's time consuming, but relative to most people, you are a noob. It's all relative. That's what it is. No hate. Play the game the way you want. But what I will say is I get a lot of people that I can tell in my comments are relatively new to old school RuneScape, and they constantly complain about wanting more updates, needing more stuff, and then they yell at me when I say to scale back on the updates. You guys have to realize this game's been updating for 4 years now pretty consistently. You're backlogged on updates by a while. Continue to train your account and push upwards. That's the incentive structure of the game, is to become a member, which is why there's very few free-to-play updates, because they want you to pay membership. Why give updates to people that aren't paying to play the game? I get it. And then also they want you to progress your account and play more and give them more membership money. I mean, that's the incentive structure of the game, and we like the game, so we play it. But you can't just expect everything to be handed on to you on a gold platter. I hear a lot of people complaining that there's no low-level bosses. Yeah, it's because it's a boss. That's how that works. Just try not to think that you deserve a lot of stuff if you haven't put a lot of time into the game. But I can see why you request updates, because you want to have fun, and I get it, but you can have fun, but you got to put in some work. And then for the med-level players, I mean, I'm a med-level player currently. I don't feel like they do much wrong, but I just feel kind of lost, and that's why I more so made this video, is because there's just so much stuff that's come out just even in the last year and a half, to where just starting a new med-level account, I feel like it's almost a whole new experience, because I created a series where I built my bank and made a new account about 2 years ago, and now I'm doing it again, and while I may do some things the same, it feels entirely different, and I feel like the med levels are just kind of clogged with a bunch of different stuff and don't know what to do at all. But maybe that's just me. Now, ultimately, these are my opinions. It's just a game at the end of the day. We're all here to have a discussion and have a good time. It's not about proving who's right or wrong, because no one really knows the answer. So let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Anything you want to see from me in the future, anything you want my opinions on, comment them down below. And make sure to subscribe to see the next video that goes live. Appreciate y'all for coming out here today, and goodbye.